Elijah to Jezebel, English Bible. Elijah on Mount Carmel, starting at 1 Kings chapter 18, verse 21. Background: God has stopped the rain from falling on the northern kingdom of Israel for 3 years. Now we're on Mount Carmel, and Elijah is ready to challenge the 850 prophets of Baal and Asherah to do battle with the true God. Elijah came near to all the people and said, "How long will you waver between the two sides? If the Lord is God, follow him, but if Baal, then follow him." The people didn't say a word. Then Elijah said to the people, "I, even I only, am left as a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Let them therefore give us 2 bulls, and let them choose 1 bull for themselves, and cut it in pieces, and lay it on the wood, and put no fire under, and I will dress the other bull, and lay it on the wood, and put no fire under it. You call on the name of your God, and I will call on the Lord's name, the God who answers by fire. Let him be God." Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, "Choose 1 bull for yourselves, and dress it first, for you are many, and call on the name of your God, but put no fire under it." They took the bull which was given them, and they dressed it, and called on the name of Baal, from morning even until noon, saying, "Baal, hear us." But there was no voice, and nobody answered. They leapt about the altar which was made. At noon, Elijah mocked them and said, "Cry aloud, for he is a god. Either he is deep in thought, or he has gone somewhere, or he is on a journey, or perhaps he sleeps and must be awakened." They cried aloud and cut themselves in their way with knives and lances until the blood gushed out on them. When midday was past, they prophesied until the time of the evening offering. But there was no voice, no answer, and nobody paid attention. Elijah said to all the people, "Come near to me," and all the people came near to him. He repaired the Lord's altar that had been thrown down. He made a trench around the altar large enough to contain 2 seahs of seed. He put the wood in order and cut the bull in pieces and laid it on the wood. He said, "Fill 4 jars with water and pour it on the burnt offering and on the wood." He said, "Do it a second time." He said, "Do it a third time." And they did it the 3rd time. The water ran around the altar, and he also filled the trench with water. Elijah the prophet came near and said, "Lord, the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant, and that I have done all these things at your word. Hear me, Lord, hear me, that this people may know that you, Lord, are God, and that you have turned their heart back again." Then the Lord's fire fell and consumed the burnt offering, the wood, the stones, and the dust, and it licked up the water that was in the trench. When all the people saw it, they fell on their faces. They said, "The Lord, he is God. The Lord, he is God." Elijah said to them, "Seize the prophets of Baal. Don't let one of them escape." They seized them, and Elijah brought them down to the brook Kishon and killed them there. Elijah said to Ahab, "Get up, eat and drink, for there is the sound of abundance of rain." Elijah went up to the top of Carmel, and he bowed himself down on the earth. and put his face between his knees. He said to his servant, "Go up now and look towards the sea." He went up and looked, then said, "There is nothing." He said, "Go again, 7 times." On the 7th time, he said, "Behold, a small cloud, like a man's hand, is rising out of the sea." He said, "Go up, tell Ahab, get ready and go down, so that the rain doesn't stop you." In a little while, the sky grew black with clouds and wind, and there was a great rain. The Lord's hand was on Elijah, and he tucked his cloak into his belt and ran before Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. Ahab told Jezebel all that Elijah had done, and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. Then Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah, saying, "So let the gods do to me, and more also, if I don't make your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time." When he saw that, he arose and ran for his life, and came to Beersheba, which belongs to Judah, and left his servant there. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness, and came and sat down under a juniper tree. Then he requested for himself that he might die, and said, "It is enough. Now, O Lord, take away my life, for I am not better than my fathers." He lay down and slept under a juniper tree, and behold, an angel touched him and said to him, "Arise and eat." He looked, and behold, there was at his head a cake baked on the coals, and a jar of water. He ate and drank, and lay down again. The Lord's angel came again the 2nd time, and touched him, and said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for you." He arose and ate and drank, and went in the strength of that food 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, God's mountain. He said, "I have been very jealous for the Lord, the God of armies, for the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I, even I only am left, and they seek my life, to take it away." He said, "Go out and stand on the mountain before the Lord." Behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind tore the mountains and broke in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake, a fire passed, but the Lord was not in the fire. After the fire, there was a still small voice. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle, went out, and stood in the entrance of the cave. Behold, a voice came to him and said, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" He said, "I have been very jealous for the Lord, the God of armies, for the children of Israel have forsaken your covenant, thrown down your altars, and killed your prophets with the sword. I, even I only, am left, and they seek my life to take it away." The Lord said to him, "Go, return on your way to the wilderness of Damascus. When you arrive, anoint Hazael to be king over Syria. Anoint Jehu the son of Nimshi to be king over Israel, and anoint Elisha the son of Shaphat of Abel-Meholah to be prophet in your place. Yet I reserved 7,000 in Israel, all the knees of which have not bowed to Baal, and every mouth which has not kissed him. So he departed from there and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat, who was plowing with 12 yoke of oxen before him, and he with the 12th. Elijah went over to him and put his mantle on him. Elisha left the oxen and ran after Elijah, and said, "Let me please kiss my father and my mother, and then I will follow you." He said to him, "Go back again, for what have I done to you?" He returned from following him, and took the yoke of oxen, killed them, and boiled their meat with the oxen's equipment, and gave to the people, and they ate. Then he arose and went after Elijah and served him. After these things, Naboth, the Jezreelite, had a vineyard which was in Jezreel, next to the palace of Ahab king of Samaria. Ahab spoke to Naboth, saying, "Give me your vineyard, that I may have it for a garden of herbs, because it is near my house." Naboth said to Ahab, "May the Lord forbid me, that I should give the inheritance of my fathers to you." Ahab came into his house sullen and angry because of the word which Naboth the Jezreelite had spoken to him, for he had said, "I will not give you the inheritance of my fathers." He laid himself down on his bed and turned away his face, and would eat no bread. Jezebel his wife said to him, "Do you now govern the kingdom of Israel? Arise and eat bread, and let your heart be merry. I will give you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite." So she wrote letters in Ahab's name and sealed them with his seal, and sent the letters to the elders and to the nobles who were in his city, who lived with Naboth. She wrote in the letters, saying, "Proclaim a fast, and set Naboth on high amongst the people. Set 2 men, wicked fellows, before him, and let them testify against him, saying, 'You cursed God and the king.' Then carry him out and stone him to death." The men of his city, even the elders and the nobles who lived in his city, did as Jezebel had instructed. They proclaimed a fast and set Naboth on high amongst the people. The 2 men, the wicked fellows, came in and sat before him. The wicked fellows testified against him, even against Naboth, in the presence of the people, saying, "Naboth cursed God and the king." When Jezebel heard that Naboth had been stoned and was dead, Jezebel said to Ahab, "Arise, take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, which he refused to give you for money, for Naboth is not alive, but dead." When Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, Ahab rose up to go down to the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite, to take possession of it. The Lord's word came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, "Arise, go down to meet Ahab king of Israel, who dwells in Samaria. Behold, he is in the vineyard of Naboth, where he has gone down to take possession of it. You shall speak to him, saying, 'The Lord says, have you killed and also taken possession?' You shall speak to him, saying, 'The Lord says, in the place where dogs licked the blood of Naboth, dogs will lick your blood, even yours.'" Ahab said to Elijah, "Have you found me, my enemy?" He answered, "I have found you, because you have sold yourself to do that which is evil in the Lord's sight. Behold, I will bring evil on you, and will utterly sweep you away, and will cut off from Ahab everyone who urinates against a wall, that is, every male, and him who is shut up, and him who is left at large in Israel. I will make your house like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha, the son of Ahijah, for the provocation with which you have provoked me to anger, and have made Israel to sin. The Lord also spoke of Jezebel, saying, The dogs will eat Jezebel by the rampart of Jezreel. But there was no one like Ahab, who sold himself to do that which was evil in the Lord's sight, whom Jezebel his wife stirred up. When Ahab heard those words, he tore his clothes, put sackcloth on his body, fasted, lay in sackcloth, and went about despondently. The Lord's word came to Elijah the Tishbite, saying, See how Ahab humbles himself before me? Because he humbles himself before me, I will not bring the evil in his days, but I will bring the evil on his house in his son's day. They continued 3 years without war between Syria and Israel. In the 3rd year, Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, came down to the king of Israel, that is, to see King Ahab. The king of Israel, King Ahab, said to his servants, You know that Ramoth-Gilead is ours, and we do nothing, and don't take it out of the hand of the king of Syria. He said to Jehoshaphat, Will you go with me to battle to Ramoth-Gilead? Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses. Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, Please inquire first for the Lord's word. Then the king of Israel, King Ahab, gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said to them, Should I go against Ramoth-Gilead to battle, or should I refrain? They said, Go up, for the Lord will deliver it into the hand of the king. But Jehoshaphat said, Isn't there here a prophet of the Lord, that we may inquire of him? The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, There is yet one man by whom we may inquire of the Lord, Micaiah the son of Imlah, but I hate him, for he does not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. Jehoshaphat said, Don't let the king say so. Then the king of Israel called an officer and said, Quickly get Micaiah the son of Imlah. When he had come to the king said to him, Micaiah, shall we go to Ramoth-Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? He answered him, Go up and prosper, and the Lord will deliver it into the hand of the king. The king said to him, How many times do I have to adjure you that you speak to me nothing but the truth in the Lord's name? He said, I saw all Israel scattered on the mountains, as sheep that have no shepherd. The Lord said, These have no master. Let them each return to his house in peace. The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, Didn't I tell you that he would not prophesy good concerning me, but evil? Micaiah said, Therefore, hear the Lord's word. I saw the Lord sitting on his throne, and all the army of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. The Lord said, Who will entice Ahab, that he may go up and fall at Ramoth-Gilead? One said one thing, and another said another. A spirit came out and stood before the Lord and said, I will entice him. The Lord said to him, How? He said, I will go out and will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. He said, You will entice him and will also prevail. Go out and do so. Now therefore, behold, The Lord has put a lying spirit in the mouth of all these your prophets, and the Lord has spoken evil concerning you." The king of Israel, King Ahab, said, "Take Micaiah and carry him back to Amon, the governor of the city, and to Joash, the king's son." The king says, "Put this fellow in the prison and feed him with bread of affliction and with water of affliction until I come in peace." Micaiah said, "If you return at all in peace, the Lord has not spoken by me." He said, "Listen, all you people." The king of Israel said to Jehoshaphat, "I will disguise myself and go into the battle, but you put on your robes." The king of Israel disguised himself and went into the battle. Now the king of Syria had commanded the 32 captains of his chariots, saying, "Don't fight with small nor great, except only with the king of Israel." When the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, they said, "Surely that is the king of Israel," and they came over to fight against him. Jehoshaphat cried out. When the captains of the chariots saw that it was not the king of Israel, they turned back from pursuing him. A certain man drew his bow at random and struck the king of Israel, Ahab, between the joints of the armor. Therefore he said to the driver of his chariot, "Turn around and carry me out of the battle, for I am severely wounded." The battle increased that day. The king, Ahab, was propped up in his chariot facing the Syrians and died at evening. The blood ran out of the wound into the bottom of the chariot. A cry went throughout the army about the going down of the sun, saying, "Every man to his city and every man to his country." So the king died and was brought to Samaria, and they buried the king in Samaria. They washed the chariot by the pool of Samaria, and the dogs licked up his blood, where the prostitutes washed themselves, according to the Lord's word which he spoke. Now the rest of the acts of Ahab, and all that he did, and the ivory house which he built, and all the cities that he built, aren't they written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? So Ahab slept with his fathers, and Ahaziah his son reigned in his place. He, King Ahaziah, did that which was evil in the Lord's sight, and walked in the way of his father, and in the way of his mother, and in the way of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, in which he made Israel to sin. He, King Ahaziah, served Baal and worshipped him, and provoked the Lord, the God of Israel, to anger in all the ways that his father Ahab had done so. Ahaziah fell down through the lattice in his upper room that was in Samaria, and was sick. So he sent messengers and said to them, "Go, inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron, whether I will recover of this sickness." But the Lord's angel said to Elijah the Tishbite, "Arise, go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria, and tell them, is it because there is no God in Israel that you go to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron? Now therefore the Lord says, you will not come down from the bed where you have gone up, but you will surely die." The messengers returned to him, to King Ahaziah, and he said to them, "Why is it that you have returned?" They said to him, "A man came up to meet us and said to us, 'Go, return to the king who sent you, and tell him, the Lord says.'" He said to them, "What kind of man was he who came up to meet you and told you these words?" They answered him, "He was a hairy man and wearing a leather belt around his waist." He said, "It's Elijah the Tishbite, Then the king sent a captain of 50 with his 50 to him. He went up to him, and behold, he was sitting on the top of the hill. He said to him, "Man of God, the king has said, 'Come down.'" Elijah answered to the captain of 50, "If I am a man of God, then let fire come down from the sky and consume you and your 50. Then fire came down from the sky and consumed him and his 50. Again, he sent to him another captain of 50 with his 50. He answered him, "Man of God, the king has said, 'Come down quickly.'" Elijah answered them, "If I am a man of God, then let fire come down from the sky and consume you and your 50. Then God's fire came down from the sky and consumed him and his 50. The third captain of 50 went up and came and fell on his knees before Elijah and begged him and said to him, "Man of God, please let my life and the life of these 50 of your servants be precious in your sight." The Lord's angel said to Elijah, "Go down with him. Don't be afraid of him." Then he arose and went down with him to the king. He said to him, "The Lord says, because you have sent messengers to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron, is it because there is no God in Israel to inquire of his word? Therefore you will not come down from the bed where you have gone up, but you will surely die." So he, King Ahaziah, died according to the Lord's word which Elijah had spoken. When the Lord was about to take Elijah up by a whirlwind into heaven, Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. Elijah said to Elisha, "Please wait here, for the Lord has sent me as far as Bethel." Elisha said, "As the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you." So they went down to Bethel. The sons of the prophets who were at Bethel came out to Elisha and said to him, "Do you know that the Lord will take away your master from over you today?" He said, "Yes, I know it. Hold your peace." Elijah said to him, "Please wait here, for the Lord has sent me to the Jordan." He said, "As the Lord lives, and as your soul lives, I will not leave you." Then they both went on. 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood opposite them at a distance, and they both stood by the Jordan. Elijah took his mantle and rolled it up and struck the waters, and they were divided here and there, so that they both went over on dry ground. When they had gone over, Elijah said to Elisha, "Ask what I shall do for you before I am taken from you." Elisha said, "Please let a double portion of your spirit be on me." He, Elijah, said, "You have asked a hard thing. If you see me when I am taken from you, it will be so for you. But if not, it will not be so." As they continued on and talked, behold, a chariot of fire and horses of fire separated them, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen." He saw him no more. Then he took hold of his own clothes and tore them in 2 pieces. He, Elisha, also took up Elijah's mantle that fell from him and went back and stood by the bank of the Jordan. He took Elijah's mantle that fell from him and struck the waters and said, "Where is the Lord, the God of Elijah. When he also had struck the waters, they were divided apart, and Elisha went over. When the sons of the prophets who were at Jericho facing him saw him, they said, "The spirit of Elijah rests on Elisha." In the 12th year of Joram the son of Ahab king of Israel, Ahaziah the son of Jehoram king of Judah began to reign. He, King Ahaziah, walked in the way of Ahab's house, and did that which was evil in the Lord's sight, as did Ahab's house, for he was the son-in-law of Ahab's house. He went with Joram the son of Ahab to war against Hazael, king of Syria, at Ramoth-Gilead, and the Syrians wounded Joram. King Joram returned to be healed in Jezreel from the wounds which the Syrians had given him at Ramah, when he fought against Hazael, king of Syria. Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Joram the son of Ahab in Jezreel, because he was sick. Elisha the prophet called one of the sons of the prophets and said to him, "Put your belt on your waist, take this vial of oil in your hand, and go to Ramoth-Gilead. When you come there, find Jehu the son of Jehoshaphat the son of Nimshi, and go in and make him rise up from amongst his brothers, and take him to an inner room. Then take the vial of oil and pour it on his head, and say, 'The Lord says, I have anointed you king over Israel.' Then open the door, flee, and don't wait." So the young man, the young prophet, went to Ramoth-Gilead. When he came, behold, the captains of the army were sitting. Then he said, "I have a message for you, captain." Jehu said, "To which one of us?" He said, "To you, O captain." He arose and went into the house. Then he poured the oil on his head and said to him, "The Lord, the God of Israel, says, I have anointed you king over the people of the Lord, even over Israel. You must strike your master Ahab's house, that I may avenge the blood of my servants the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of the Lord at the hand of Jezebel. For the whole house of Ahab will perish. I will cut off from Ahab everyone who urinates against a wall, every male. The dogs will eat Jezebel on the plot of ground of Jezreel, and there shall be no one to bury her." Then he, the prophet, opened the door and fled. When Jehu came out to the servants of his lord, and one said to him, "Is all well? Why did this madman come to you?" He said to them, "You know the man, and how he talks." They said, "That is a lie. Tell us now." He said to me, "The Lord says, I have anointed you king over Israel." Then they hurried, and each man took his cloak and put it under him on the top of the stairs, and blew the trumpet, saying, "Jehu is king." So Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, conspired against Joram. Then Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, went out, each in his chariot. And they went out to meet Jehu, and found him on Naboth, the Jezreelite's land. When Joram saw Jehu, he said, "Is it peace, Jehu?" He answered, "What peace, so long as the prostitution of your mother Jezebel and her witchcraft abound?" Joram turned his hands and fled, and said to Ahaziah, "This is treason, Ahaziah." Jehu drew his bow with his full strength, and struck Joram between his arms. And the arrow went out at his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot. Then Jehu said to Bidkar his captain, "Pick him up and throw him in the plot of the field of Naboth the Jezreelite." But when Ahaziah the king of Judah saw this, he fled by the way of the garden house. They struck him at the ascent of Gur, which is by Iblim. When Jehu had come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her eyes and adorned her head and looked out at the window. As Jehu entered in at the gate, she said, "Do you come in peace, Zimri, you murderer of your master?" He lifted up his face to the window and said, "Who is on my side? Who?" 2 or 3 eunuchs looked out at him. He said, "Throw her down." So they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and on the horses. Then he trampled her underfoot. When he had come in, he ate and drank. Then he said, "See now to this cursed woman, and bury her, for she is a king's daughter." They went to bury her, but they found no more of her than the skull, the feet, and the palms of her hands. He, Jehu, said, "This is the Lord's word, which he spoke by his servant Elijah the Tishbite, saying, The dogs will eat the flesh of Jezebel on the plot of Jezreel, and the body of Jezebel will be as dung on the surface of the field on Jezreel's land, so that they won't say, 'This is Jezebel.'" So Jehu struck all that remained of Ahab's house, including all of Ahab's sons, in Jezreel, with all his great men, his familiar friends, and his priests, until he left him no one remaining. When he came to Samaria, he struck all who remained to Ahab in Samaria until he had destroyed them, according to the Lord's word, which he spoke to Elijah. Jehu gathered all the people together and said to them, "Ahab served Baal a little, but Jehu will serve him much. Now therefore call to me all the prophets of Baal, all of his worshippers, and all of his priests. Let no one be absent, for I have a great sacrifice to Baal. Whoever is absent, he shall not live." But Jehu did deceptively, intending to destroy the worshippers of Baal. Jehu sent through all Israel, and all the worshippers of Baal came, so that there was not a man left that didn't come. They came into the house of Baal, and the house of Baal was filled from one end to another. He said to him who kept the wardrobe, "Bring out robes for all the worshippers of Baal." So he brought robes out to them. Then he said to the worshippers of Baal, "Search and see that none of the servants of the Lord are here with you, but only the worshippers of Baal." Now Jehu had appointed for himself 80 men outside, and said, "If any of the men whom I bring into your hands escape, he who lets him go, his life shall be for the life of him." As soon as he had finished offering the burnt offering, Jehu said to the guard and to the captains, "Go in and kill them. Let no one escape." So they struck them with the edge of the sword. The guard and the captains threw the bodies out and went to the inner shrine of the house of Baal. They broke down the pillar of Baal and broke down the house of Baal and made it a latrine to this day. Thus Jehu destroyed Baal out of Israel. Continue with this illustrated Bible. Download full-color PDF books, get thousands of coloring pages, or contact us at mrmacbible.com.